This story will end December 4th at Redemption. But it all began back in the early 90s when Jason Redondo got his first big break. And he was hired by the World Wrestling Federation. And he took on the biggest and the baddest to have ever lived. Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow, and the mighty Yokozuna. He then went on and became one of the biggest stars in the history of CCW. That's where he had epic ladder matches with B-Boy and ferocious battles with Alcatraz, and will go down in history as the final CCW champion. But after CCW's demise, the Radiant One disappeared into obscurity. But he made a triumphant comeback against his old foe Alcatraz for SoCal Pro Wrestling, and he became the first SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion. And he went on a tear, the likes of which have never been seen before. He took on all comers, and with his manager TNT, he was one of the most dominating champs in the history of SoCal wrestling. But it all came crashing down in a brutal cage match where SoCal Crazy took the crown from the Radiant One. But that wasn't the end. You see, Jason, he recovered, and he still went on a tear, taking on the biggest and the baddest. But then one fateful night in January of 2010, in what has to be considered the upset of the decade, he lost to SoCal Pro newcomer LOVIN, Nick Lovin. And then he fired his manager TNT, and he went to the ring later that night, and he cost Tommy Wilson his championship against SoCal Crazy in one of the greatest ladder matches that ever happened. And that was the beginning of the spiral, the beginning of the end for Jason Redondo. You see, him and Tommy Wilson, they've battled, but with no decisive victors. But that's all going to come to an end at Redemption on December 4th. See, that will be the night in a last man standing match where Jason Redondo and Tommy Wilson will meet for the final time. It will be the last time they ever lock horns in the ring. And that will be the night that Tommy Wilson will in fact be the last man standing. And Jason Redondo's career will come to an unceremonious